What's up, everyone? My name is Forsaken, and today we are going to make something awesome. We should begin this video by saying that I should not be held as an example on how to safely use shop equipment. This shit's dangerous, so, be careful. Now, the wood that I use for this is actually a stair tread. I like to use these for these projects, especially things that I'm using a router for, because the wood itself is fairly straight, so you don't have to deal with the warping and anything. You just have to cut this dog nose or ball nose, whatever the hell they call it, this rounded edge off of the front. Now what I'm doing here is cutting up pieces of clear acrylic sheeting. These particular pieces are going to be the front faces of the actual emblem that gets lit up. They're fairly inexpensive. You can get them on Amazon for pretty cheap. I bought this acrylic cutter. You're supposed to score it and it snaps in half, but I was like shattering panels because it didn't work right. So, table saw. I know you like that Nuka-Cola sign you see peeking out behind my arm there. We have a video for that as well. I'll link it at the end if you want to watch me make that one. Now once again, these are the same pieces I just cut of the acrylic sheeting, the ones that face forward. I'm just cutting the shape out of them with my scroll saw. Later, this piece of wood is going to be cut off, and that's going to be the rear plaque that holds the emblem in place. Now when routing something out like this, it's a lot easier to do the fine work, the lines and edging and things like that with a smaller diameter router bit. Then when you come around to hog out the inside part, you get one of a larger diameter. It makes it a lot easier, and it's less stress on your tool. But be careful because these little bits can get really hot. I probably spent about a half hour trying to get this angle right. It was a real pain in the ass. After everything was said and done, I had about 7 hours of footage. This project took me way longer than I thought and had hoped. It might not be blatantly obvious what I'm doing right here. I'm actually sharpening up my wood chisel. You're supposed to do this with a stone. I have one now, but at the time, a piece of sandpaper stapled to a board got the job done. Now this is the first time that I attempted to fit the front-facing acrylic panels to the board itself. It's difficult because each one ends up being like they're unique to the slot that they fit into. Here I am marking off what's going to be a recess in the rear of the panel for the LEDs to sit into and the power supply and things like that. This is my preferred way to hold something in place when I'm routing it, or even if I'm using my planer. It's cheap and easy, especially if you have a sacrificial table like I do. Now once again I'm cutting up this clear acrylic sheeting. This little tool is cool. It's called a gripper. It helps protect your hands quite a bit. But these pieces are going to be the sides that hold up the front-facing panel to give them more of a three-dimensional shape. I cannot express to you how much of a pain in the ass this part was. Like, when I was finished, I left this project alone for probably 2 months. Like, I was in a frantic pace to get this video done so I can release it the day of the game. Ideally, I wanted to release it during the beta, but that didn't happen. Then ideally, I wanted to release it the week or a few days before while the hype is up, but that didn't work either. Like, what makes this so hard is that, so the center two, they aren't so bad, but each one of these recesses is slightly different. So I can't just get one piece right and then duplicate it. Each piece has its own length. The angle that I sand by hand very vigorously, if you see, is different depending on which piece. So not only do I have to individually make by hand each piece, but I have to make sure that they stay in their assigned locations, because if I lose one, I have to do the whole fucking thing over again. And like, I was pulling my hair out by the end of this. And in the end, when I go to glue it all together, the angles, they don't really meet up the way that they should, and they're just like precariously being held together by like just the very edge. Oh, it's I'm grateful that the forward-facing panel is flat, and I just needed to get these sides held in place, and then they could be glued to the front, and that, you know, takes the majority of the weight of it all. So, after masking off all of these, I decided that the tape line was too fat for what I had pictured initially, and so I had to painstakingly go across each one of them and cut the width of the tape in half. It was excruciating. So here is an example of when laziness creates innovation. Or well, necessity, rather. I was going to cut each LED strip to the length to fill the recess. But because these LEDs have red, green, blue, and white, there is a R, a G, a B, a W, and a plus contact on the strip. So if I were going to wire them in sequence, or series, I believe is the proper term, I would have had ran 5 wires between each strip 4 times. And I said, fuck that. I'm just gonna lace this thing up like it's a pair of shoes. You know, the recess in the back is deep enough to hold a full LED strip. So I drilled these holes. I'm gonna take and hog out the inside so it's a slot more than a hole, and just wrap that thing in LEDs. Now, here's the part where I am not to be held as an example of proper shop safety. What I'm going to do is incredibly dangerous and stupid, and you should not try it at home. A router should never be used in a situation where its base cannot securely be supported by the workpiece beneath it. You can see this piece jumping around quite a bit. And now I'm holding it with one hand, cutting out material without its base supported on anything. I mean, you know, it worked out fine, but it may not have. So, safety tips. And you should never treat your drill bits this way. I'm surprised that it didn't snap, to be honest. Now, right here at this moment, I made a critical error. An LED strip can only be cut at certain intervals where they have contacts to wire them in sequence if you have to wire multiple strips together. What I should have done is pull the slack back and cut it further along in that interval. Because of this, if you see in the top corner, there's a little plug on the backhand side of it. It is way higher than my power supply can actually reach, let's say, comfortably, for lack of a better word. So, if you see in that bottom corner by where the peak is, there's a dark spot. Because after it was cut, in order to get my power supply plug to actually plug into the LED strip, I had to stretch this thing to its absolute max. And the only way I could get it to plug in was actually I had to chisel out a whole bunch of the back and the bottom and get the power supply to sit up further towards the top. But also I had to pull that LED strip back a little bit. So the bottom right hand corner of it, if you're looking from the front, is actually dimmer than the rest of the image. And it makes me furious. But that's my own stupidity. And once again, as we've established earlier, I am lazy. And I wasn't about to redo this whole thing so I can add wires to get extra like 3 inches of LED strip. Screw it. It's gonna hang in my room anyways. If no one likes it, they can get fucked. Now, I am choosing to screw the back onto this just so I have access in case I have to deal with the LEDs in the future, you know, to try to troubleshoot something if it isn't working. Now I have super glue and epoxy and any number of permanent means to bond these to the back, but I'm choosing to use a hot glue gun because, once again, if something goes haywire and I have to do some repairs, let's say, at least there's a chance that I might pull these off if they're held on with hot glue. Or, you know, I might just slam the thing up against the wall, you know, whatever. I want to take a moment and say that if you are still watching this video, you're awesome. I love you. It really means a lot to me. I worked very hard on this project, and 7 hours of footage I had. This video is so long. I couldn't believe it. I'm surprised that anybody is still watching it. But if you are, thank you. Maybe like my video. You know, you've stayed here for this long. Unless you're a masochist, then you know what, you can tell me to kill myself or whatever. But it's not perfect, but it's a project that I am proud of. And you know, if you like this and you haven't already subscribed to my channel, maybe you should, because I'm going to start doing more projects like this. It was very enjoyable, and hopefully I see you again.